At 4:58 p.m., my doorbell chime did the cheerful little song it's done 1,000 times. It wasn't cheerful for long. 3 men in black polo shirts stood on my porch, matching patches that read HOA Enforcement, blue light bar glowing on a golf cart in my driveway like a child's imitation of a patrol unit, clipboards, radios. One of those radios had its antenna screwed on upside down. The one in the middle cleared his throat loud enough to be heard by my neighbor Jerry and anyone else who likes a show. "Mr. Cole," he announced, "you are under arrest for non-payment of HOA assessments and violations of community standards." I looked at the clip-on badge that wasn't, more party store than police. I looked at the printed warrant that misspelled my street and cited a statute no state has enacted outside of movies written by people who don't own maps. And then I looked at the security camera light above the door, steady red, always, working. "My counsel prefers paper," I said. "You'll leave that in the mailbox and you'll leave my porch." "We have authority," the middle one said, and tried to shoulder past me. I stepped back, kept the door jamb between us, and did the thing that has saved more people than ego ever will. I called the calm number. "County Communications," the dispatcher said, voice like a seatbelt clicking into place. "This is Special Agent Marcus Cole," I said quietly. "Off duty. 3 individuals impersonating officers at my residence. False arrest attempt. No weapons displayed. I'm requesting patrol and a supervisor." Behind the trio, I saw a flash of tan visor, the kind that believes sunlight is authority. She stood at the end of my walkway like a director who just knew the ending. She lifted her phone, pressed record, and smiled with every tooth she owned. She didn't know who I was. Nobody on Juniper Court did. I keep my day job folded into a wallet and my ego in the same drawer as my swimming medals from 1998. I am a dad, a husband, and a man who likes quiet. But I am also the person fraud crews in 3 counties call me behind my back, the one they fear, because I do the same, boring thing every day, collect facts until a bad idea stops moving. We bought our house a year after the kids were born. We wanted a fence, a maple tree, and a street that didn't demand your soul when you tried to smile at it. The realtor said, "No HOA." That was true for a minute. Developers have a way of finding gravity and arguing with it. Within 6 months, a property owners association appeared at the entrance with a sign nicer than most municipal monuments. The board was 3 people. One of them had a visor. Flyers described an optional amenities plan, which I don't mind. I like pools and potlucks when they don't arrive with invoices. We opted out, politely. Optional turned mandatory in a letter printed like a coupon. All residents within, "The boundary must enroll," it declared, citing a unanimous board vote that means exactly nothing in a place where the covenants don't touch your deed. We replied, maps, recorder stamp, county parcel index. "Our lot is not subject to your declaration." Carla, the management company's beige voice, responded with a word that needs its own warning label. "Nevertheless." I didn't put my badge on the table. You don't start with a hammer when a pen will do. We wrote letters. We paid the county. We ignored late fee emails. We saved every piece of paper and every memory. Then the compliance patrol arrived. Black polos ordered off a site that doesn't ask many questions. A golf cart with the kind of flashing light you buy when you want to feel something. Laminated. Cards that said courtesy warning in font sizes that tried to be laws. They knocked on doors. They cited people for lawn chairs left out, for basketball hoops, for parking in view, for air that didn't feel aligned with their preferences. They came to our house twice, once while my wife Leah was solo with the kids. She doesn't have a badge. She has a quiet that makes bullies run out of script. She cracked the door, let the deadbolt show, and said, "Put your notice in the mail." They told her, "People like you need lessons." She closed the door. The ring recorded everything. It's a federal crime to impersonate an officer. It's also a bad idea to become a character in a story you don't control. The warrant they waved at me had a lot of bold letters and exactly 0 law. It put together nouns like a kid making a Lego spaceship that won't land, writ of immediate detention for civil non-compliance, authority, HOA Enforcement Division, effective upon service. I took a photo with my phone, in plain view, made. Sure, the cam caught it and texted it to myself, Leah, and a person in my contacts named AUSAM, Assistant U.S. Attorney. Not because I plan to federalize a neighborhood spat, jurisdiction matters and local police should always lead, but because the paper had the stink of mail fraud and wire fraud, the same way a rotten apple has a radius. "Sir," the middleman said, stepping forward again. "Step outside." "No," I said. "You're trespassing. Patrol is en route. Don't make this worse." He reached toward my shoulder with 2 fingers like someone who learned power from movies. I didn't flinch. I didn't touch him. I said, "If you put a hand on me, you'll be arrested." He dropped his hand. The visor made a face like I'd stolen her line. "He's resisting," she said to her camera, and my doorbell camera recorded the recording, and the recursion gave me the brief, rare gift of humor in a dumb moment. 2 patrol units rolled up quiet, no sirens, no heat. Officer Zhao and Officer Diaz stepped out with the posture of people who make Thanksgiving taste better by making everything else calmer the other 364 days. A sergeant arrived a minute later. The golf cart flashed its blue plastic at them like a raccoon rummaging through a recycling bin. "Gentlemen," the sergeant said to the trio, "badges and ID." They showed clip-ons and driver's licenses. "We're the HOA police," the middle one said. "We have jurisdiction." "No, you don't," the sergeant said, and I fell in love with the sentence. "Turn around, hands behind your back." "On what charge?" the visor snapped. "Impersonating a peace officer." "Attempted false imprisonment," he said. "We'll sort the paperwork later." They cuffed the 3, calm and methodical. The sergeant turned to me. "You okay, Mr. Cole?" "Yes, Sergeant," I said. "Thank you. I've got video, the fake warrant and mailers from the past 3 months. Happy to email." "Please," he said. "And," he dropped his voice, "dispatch says you mentioned your federal?" I showed him my creds the way we're trained, badges and ID held in my palm, not flourished, turned so he could inspect, then away. He nodded once. "Appreciate you staying in your lane," he said. "We'll handle here. You just be a witness." "That's exactly what I want," I said, and meant it. The district attorney charged the trio with impersonating an officer and attempted false imprisonment. The visor was charged with conspiracy. The HOA management company tried to issue a statement that contained the word "nevertheless," then thought better of it and called their insurer. The insurer called me. "We see a lot," the risk manager said, "but not this. Please send all the mailings they've sent you." I sent them. I also sent them to the postal inspector on a general tip line because envelopes with fake seals and threats travel through federal space, and mail fraud doesn't care how small your street is. The inspector's reply was the bureaucratic equivalent of a hug. "Thanks. We're reviewing." The DA's investigator came by that week. I made coffee. He sat at our dining table and watched each doorbell clip, each knock, each compliance. "Check!" That wasn't. His face settling into that particular combination of irritation and gratitude. "You'd be amazed how often this is just shouting," he said, "and how rarely it's this well documented." The investigator asked the question every case needs. "Is there more?" "Maybe," I said, and pushed a folder across the table. "The one where bland bank PDFs blossom into something else if you train your eyes." Leah and I had a petty hobby these last 2 months, reading the HOA's online payment portal terms and comparing them to the covenants they cited. The numbers didn't match. Neither did the vendor names. An amenities consultant LLC had been paid $4,700 in 4 months. The LLC was 1 month old and shared a P.O. box with the builder's brother-in-law. I didn't open a federal case. I didn't even hint that I wanted to. The investigator smiled the careful smile of a man who appreciates facts and doesn't want to step on toes. Would you be willing to give a formal statement, he asked, if my wife can bake muffins? For the break room, I said. Please, he said. The emergency HOA meeting looked like guilt had rented a clubhouse. The management company sat very straight. The attorney wore a tie, tired enough to make me want to Venmo him a nap. The visor was not there. Her chair was. It did not speak. The attorney stood. The board has dissolved the enforcement team, he said. The association recognizes volunteers have no police powers, cannot detain, and cannot enter property. The board will cease all attempts to collect assessments from parcels not subject to the recorded covenants. Refunds will be issued to any household that paid under misrepresentation. Carla's beige voice sniffed. Nevertheless, no, the attorney said. It was like watching a man put a pillow over a car alarm. No, nevertheless, he continued. The association will cooperate with law enforcement in the ongoing criminal case. Insurance has demanded board training in de-escalation, basic statutes, and parliamentary procedure. We will also hire a licensed property manager. Effective. Immediately, the HOA police social media page has been deleted. Jerry raised his hand. Can we also delete the golf cart light? He asked. We already did, the attorney said, and the room laughed in that relief way that sounds like unclenching. I didn't speak. I stood in the back with Leah and our twins and let the room be its own hero. The three men in polos took pleas, misdemeanor impersonation, and attempted false imprisonment. Community service, probation. The visor took a felony plea for conspiracy to commit false imprisonment. 2 years of probation, fines, restitution, mandatory training, a no-contact order with my family and 3 other families. She sold her visor. I made that up, but symbolically she did. The postal inspectors and the DA's financial crimes unit followed the amenities consultant money to an arrangement with a travel trailer, a strip mall, and a cousin who thought Venmo is invisible at night. The cousin took a plea for theft and falsifying business records. The money returned as restitution helps pay for things streets need. Trees, a bench, and a sign that says, "Welcome without apology." The insurer paid out for the management company's liability and then revised their renewal rules. You can tell. A board learned something when their emails get shorter and their meetings get boring. Ours did. Blessedly, neighbors started bringing trash cans in for each other again. We shared a pressure washer and a ladder like an economy built on kindness. The golf cart retired to a lot where it belongs, the used equipment classifieds. The upside-down radio antenna found its true calling, topping a plant stake in someone's tomato garden. If you came here for a swagger story, you came to the wrong house. I didn't flex, I didn't flash. I called dispatch, opened the door just enough for law, and kept the deadbolt visible. I gave statements. I handed paper. I did not make speeches. Sometimes I am the FBI agent they all fear. Not because I am big or loud or carry a secret technique. Because people who harm neighbors fear boring people with good records, fear consequence, fear court dates more than confrontation, fear a paper trail more than a punch. I am professionally boring. I am painfully calm. I am the end of their improv. That day on my porch, I wasn't an agent. I was a dad whose 6-year-old hid behind his mother's legs, whispering, "Are these the kind of police that help?" I wanted to say yes without hesitation. The sergeant and the 2 officers made it true. Months later, the visor sent a letter through her attorney. It had an apology in it I believe cost her more than the rest. It was not perfect. It was not a non-apology. It looked like one person learning what the world looks like when you are not its center. We hosted a block party. I grilled. Jerry smoked a brisket that tasted like forgiveness dipped in pepper. The officers stopped by. Kids climbed on a city vehicle and touched the siren without turning it on, which made me trust their parents more than I'd planned. The DA's investigator ate 2 muffins and pretended it was 1. We put a sign in our window not a single person complained about. This home loves boring heroes. My daughter drew a badge under it with a crayon and called it modern art. My son added a stick figure with a top hat. We are not a museum. At dusk, I walked to the end of the cul-de-sac. I looked at the maple. It threw a shadow that reminded me of the first day we moved in, the ring of quiet on a street that believed itself to be good. It is again. People did that. Paper did that. And a little calm did that. Impersonation and extortion. If someone claims to be HOA police, don't engage. Call your local police. Never go with anyone who cannot present valid ID and legal authority. De-escalation is a tool. Cameras, deadbolts, and a calm voice beat 1,000 hot words. Documentation wins. Save mailers, emails, texts. Photograph warrants. Clarity is justice's best friend. Insurance and governance. Boards change fastest when insurers and real managers insist on training and policy. Push for both. Don't be the hero, be the neighbor. You don't need a badge to keep your block safe. You need patience and paper and the number for dispatch on your fridge. If you like stories where fake badges run into real law and the quiet wins, subscribe, drop a like, and tell me your wildest HOA moment below. I'll bring muffins. You bring the receipts.